In the dead of night, the city's skyline glitters, but inside the marble-floored lobby of a corporate tower, everything is silent. A billionaire stands in the harsh fluorescent glow, wrists bound tightly with cold metal handcuffs. The echoes of a siren outside clash with the eerie stillness within. His suit, once a symbol of power, now hangs heavy and rumpled on his broad shoulders. Tears streak down his face, defying the fierce set of his jaw. Opposite him, across the polished expanse, stands a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, her eyes wide with silent terror. Neither speaks. The billionaire's breathing grows ragged. Sweat beads on his temple as he struggles to look away, but he cannot. The girl clutches a worn stuffed rabbit, trembling, confusion and fear in every small movement. Photographers press against the glass, flashes turning the lobby into a battlefield of light. Outside, the media swarms, hungry for blood. Inside, time slows. The billionaire drops his gaze. For a split second, his entire empire seems to flicker, as if built on sand. A single voice breaks the silence, soft, haunting, echoing. He built an empire, but he couldn't save her. The moment stretches, searing itself into memory, a paradox of triumph and total ruin. Outside, the world spins at a fever pitch, sirens wailing and news vans parked haphazardly on glistening streets. Every reporter has a camera pointed toward the glass, desperate for a glimpse of scandal. Inside, the billionaire's breaths come in shallow bursts. He stands rooted, torn between rage and despair, the cold weight of the handcuffs biting into his wrists. He dares not look up at the girl again, haunted by her silent accusation. The girl, trembling, takes a single step backward, her bare feet smudging the marble. Outside, the storm grows louder, wind rattling the glass like distant drums. The billionaire's eyes flick to the swirling lights, then close. He thinks of everything he owns, every battle he won. None of it matters now. His empire means nothing in the shadow of her fear. Somewhere, a woman's voice echoes on the police radio. The girl clutches her rabbit tighter, chin quivering. For one terrible second, the billionaire almost speaks, but the words die in his throat. In this moment, time holds its breath. Flashes from cameras outside cut through the gloom, painting the lobby in harsh, fractured bursts of light. The billionaire tries to steady himself, searching for dignity, but every click of a camera is another nail in his coffin. The girl doesn't cry. Her fear is silent and shattering, her small hands white-knuckled on the rabbit. A police officer steps forward, boots squeaking on the marble, voice soft yet unyielding. "Let's go." The billionaire blinks, lips pressed tight, but obeys. The girl watches, unmoving, her eyes shining like glass. For a moment, their gazes meet. He gives the faintest nod, apology and plea mingled in one broken gesture. The officer's hand rests gently on the billionaire's arm, guiding him away. The air thickens with regret, shame pressing down like a storm. In the silence, the only sound is the girl's ragged breathing, filling the echoing space between innocence and ruin. The billionaire's footsteps ring out as he's led across the marble, echoing like a funeral march. The lobby doors part, and the world outside explodes into chaos. Rain, lights, and shouted questions merging into a wall of noise. He shields his eyes, squinting at the camera flashes, each burst capturing a portrait of ruin. The officer's grip tightens, steadying him as he stumbles. The little girl's silhouette remains framed by the lobby's light, shrinking as he is led away. He casts one last look over his shoulder. The girl stands alone, clutching her rabbit, eyes luminous with unanswered questions. The billionaire's heart aches with every step. For the cameras, it is spectacle, but for him, it is the collapse of everything he thought indestructible. The night swallows him whole, his fate sealed in the glare of 1,000 lenses. As the billionaire is pushed into the back of a police car, he presses his forehead against the cold glass. Flashes and shouted questions blur into a distant roar. Inside, the car smells of vinyl and rain. His mind reels with images of the girl, her trembling figure burned into his memory. The car pulls away, tires hissing on wet pavement, the city's neon bleeding into the night. In the lobby, the girl remains motionless, tiny and lost in a sea of marble and glass. The world may see a fallen king, but all she sees is a man who failed her. A final line echoes as the car disappears into darkness. He built an empire, but he couldn't save her. And in that moment, power means nothing. Only loss remains. Years earlier, in a modest apartment bathed in the soft light of early dawn, a small boy sits on the floor, eyes fixed on a flickering television. His mother, worn and anxious, paces the cramped room, wringing her hands. "I promise you one day you'll never have to worry," she whispers, voice breaking with both hope and fear. The boy nods solemnly, too young to grasp the weight of her words, but old enough to carry the promise forever. Outside, the city awakens slowly, shops open, streets fill, life surges onward. The boy watches the world, his heart already marked by his mother's struggle, a silent vow taking root deep inside. This was the wound that shaped him, watching a parent fail while swearing to never be broken the same way. Every whispered promise, every tear shed in silence, became the fire that would later fuel his climb. The boy clenches a small toy car, eyes steely with resolve. No matter the cost, he will rise above. Years later, the same boy is now a young man in a sleek corporate boardroom. He stands tall, but the weight of the room's cold glare presses down on him. Chairs circle him like judges, their owners skeptical and cold. A female board member's voice cuts sharply. "You're too inexperienced for this role." The young man swallows hard, but stands firm. This isn't just about business, it's about proving every doubter wrong. The sting of rejection burns fiercely, but beneath it, a flame of determination. The boardroom lights hum overhead, sterile and unyielding, mirroring the icy atmosphere. The young man clenches his fists, jaw set. This moment is a test not just of skill, but of spirit. He vows silently, never again will he be turned away. This room, this city, this life, he will conquer it all. Yet, beneath the armor, the wound of childhood remains raw, fueling his relentless drive. Late nights blur into early mornings as the young man pores over documents in a small, cluttered office. Coffee cups litter the desk, papers scattered like battle plans. His phone buzzes endlessly, calls from friends he hasn't answered in months. Loneliness creeps in, but he shoves it aside. This sacrifice is the price of ambition. Birthdays pass unnoticed, relationships wither in silence. In the glow of the laptop screen, his eyes burn with exhaustion and fierce resolve. Every setback carves deeper, but also hardens him. The city outside sleeps unaware of his battles, unaware of the man forging his future in these solitary hours. Somewhere between fatigue and obsession, he builds something new, an empire of his own making. But the cost is mounting, invisible yet crushing. A photo of his mother on the desk reminds him why he fights, to rewrite their story. Victory tastes hollow as the young man watches headlines praising his latest business move. Yet, behind closed doors, tension simmers. Friends drift away, lovers leave, and the hollow victories echo through empty apartments. His reflection in the mirror is almost unrecognizable, a man carved by ambition but fractured by loss. The scars of childhood pain persist beneath his tailored suits, a constant companion. A phone call from his mother is brief and strained. Neither knows how to bridge the growing distance. In the silence of his penthouse, he lights a cigarette, exhaling years of frustration and regret. The empire grows, but so does the price. Every gain exacts a toll on his soul. The city's glittering lights offer no comfort. The man who vowed never to be broken is slowly becoming a stranger, to others, and to himself. A small cafe, in the early morning light. The young man, now appearing more confident but still guarded, sits across from an older mentor figure. The mentor's eyes hold both pride and warning. "Remember, power is a fire," he says softly. "Control it, or it will consume you." The young man nods, his jaw tightening, absorbing every word. The wounds of his past pulse beneath his skin, fueling his hunger for control, success, and respect. He glances at the worn photo in his wallet, his mother's smile, a fragile anchor to who he is beneath the armor. The city hums awake outside, a world waiting for him to claim his place. In that quiet moment, the battle lines are drawn between what he hopes to become and what he fears he might lose. The promise to himself is clear: never again will he be powerless. The young man's ambition ignites as he launches his first startup from a cramped rented office, the glow of computer screens casting a pale light on determined faces. Sleepless nights blur into endless coding sessions and frantic phone calls. His fingers dance over the keyboard, heart pounding with every breakthrough and setback. Friends' invitations go unanswered, birthdays pass without notice. The office buzzes with raw energy, but beneath it all, exhaustion gnaws at his resolve. A single framed photo of his mother sits on the cluttered desk, a reminder of the promise he made long ago. His eyes flicker with fierce determination, yet shadows of loneliness deepen. Every small victory feels like a war won, but the cost is steep. Success here is not just about profits. It's a battle to prove he belongs. With every sleepless night, the man pushes further, sacrificing the comforts of normal life for a dream that might consume him. Months pass, and the startup begins to gain traction, but so do the cracks in the young man's personal life. Invitations from friends become distant echoes. Calls from a partner go unanswered, replaced by cold texts. He watches relationships fade like shadows at dusk. Each missed moment weighs heavily, a silent toll etched on his weary face. Late nights bleed into early mornings, caffeine his only companion. The city outside buzzes with life, but inside, the air is thick with sacrifice. His team rallies behind him, their hope and trust fueling his drive. But the man feels the growing emptiness of personal loss. He glances at his phone, hesitation flickering before another call is ignored. Power and ambition fill his days, but his nights grow colder. Somewhere beneath the surface, a quiet question lingers. Is this the price he must pay to succeed? Success arrives in waves, contracts signed, headlines written, investors nodding with approval. Yet, the young man's smile is guarded, worn thin by the cost of the climb. Lost birthdays and forgotten anniversaries haunt his memories like ghosts. He catches glimpses of former friends in passing crowds, strangers now to the life he leads. His reflection in glass towers reveals a man shaped by ambition, but hollowed by loss. Late one night, alone in a boardroom, he murmurs, "Is this victory or surrender?" The walls echo with silence. The empire grows, but the man wonders at what cost. Every win is tinged with the ache of what he's sacrificed: trust, love, time. His heart races with the hunger to conquer, but beneath it lies the quiet ache of loneliness, a price he never expected to pay. Amid the whirlwind of triumph, the young man's phone buzzes incessantly, friends' names flashing, invitations declined, messages left unanswered. The buzz of the city's nightlife drifts faintly through his penthouse windows as he sits alone, drink in hand, contemplating the cost of his empire. He stares at a faded photo of his mother, her smile fragile yet fierce, anchoring him to a past he tries not to forget. His reflection stares back, a man caught between two worlds: the ruthless CEO and the boy who promised never to fail. Exhaustion seeps into his bones, but the hunger for power claws deeper. He whispers to himself, "Is this what I wanted, or what I lost?" The answer remains elusive as dawn creeps over the skyline. He is victorious but haunted, a king in a castle of solitude. In the quiet hours before morning, the young man sits at his desk, drafting plans for his next venture. The world outside pulses with life, unaware of the battle waging within. His phone vibrates, another missed call from someone important. He hesitates, then silences it. The cost of ambition weighs heavily. He closes his eyes, remembering the promise to his mother, to rise above, to never be broken. Yet the sacrifices multiply, friends lost, love faded, moments stolen. The empire grows, but at a price too high to measure. He exhales deeply, fingers brushing the edge of a worn photograph. In this stillness, he steels himself for the storm ahead. The climb is far from over, and every step forward demands more than he thought possible. In the sterile glow of a late-night office, the young man sits frozen, the latest financial report clutched in trembling hands. The numbers don't add up. Whispers reach his ears, rumors that the empire he built might not truly be his. His trusted co-founder, the person he called brother, has been hiding truths, diverting funds. Betrayal stings like acid, burning through years of loyalty. His heart pounds as he replays every shared laugh, every pact made in trust. The foundations of his legacy crack beneath him. A cold wave of disbelief washes over his face. He thought he was in control, but now the floor feels like it's falling away. The man who vowed never to be broken is reeling, grappling with the collapse of everything he believed was real. The room seems to close in as the silence screams. Nothing is as it seemed. The next morning, the young man confronts the co-founder in a glass-walled conference room. His voice is low but fierce. "How long have you been stealing from me?" The co-founder, a man his age with a practiced calm, shrugs, a sly smile barely hidden. "You were too busy building dreams to see the cracks." The betrayal cuts deeper than words. Trust shatters instantly, replaced by cold calculation. The board members watch silently, the atmosphere thick with disbelief and tension. The man's jaw tightens, fury and heartbreak collide in his eyes. He realizes the empire was never truly his to command. The revelation fractures his confidence, forcing him to reconsider everything. His partners, his future, even himself. The ground beneath him gives way to a yawning chasm of doubt. Weeks later, the young man's health falters. A doctor's office, sterile and impersonal, reveals the grim truth. A serious illness threatening his life. He listens, stoic but shattered inside, the weight of mortality crashing into the ruin of betrayal. He cannot tell his team, cannot show weakness. Alone in the hospital room, he stares at the ceiling, mind racing through memories and regrets. The empire teeters on the brink of collapse, and he faces a battle no business plan can fix. His body weak, but his spirit refuses to surrender completely. He clenches his fists, vowing to fight, not just for power, but for survival. The silent burden grows heavier with each passing day, hidden behind a mask of determination. Back in the boardroom, whispers spread like wildfire. The empire's pillars shake under scrutiny and fear. The young man, now visibly weakened, fights to keep control, but his silence fuels speculation. The once loyal team is divided, loyalty fracturing like cracked glass. Behind every handshake lies suspicion. The man who promised to protect his legacy finds himself isolated, battling forces both inside and out. The business that was his dream feels more like a cage. Each decision, each meeting, carries the weight of impending collapse. His breath grows shallow, eyes haunted. The empire's fall seems inevitable, and the man must decide what remains worth fighting for, and what must be left behind. One rainy evening, the young man sits alone in his penthouse, the city lights blurred by the downpour outside. His reflection stares back from the window, a fractured image of power and vulnerability. The weight of betrayal, illness, and impending loss crushes him. Yet beneath the despair, a flicker of resolve remains. He reaches for a worn photograph of his mother, tracing her smile with trembling fingers. "I won't let this be the end," he whispers into the silence. The empire may be crumbling, but the man knows this battle is far from over. In the storm's heart he steels himself for the fight ahead, one that will test every ounce of his strength and redefine what legacy truly means. The boardroom is electric with tension as the decisive meeting begins. The 34-year-old South Asian CEO stands at the head of the table, his face pale but resolute. Around him, board members exchange wary glances, their expressions a mix of hope and doubt. "This is the moment everything changes," he says firmly, voice steady despite the storm inside. The company's future hangs by a thread. Every vote counts. Behind the glass walls, media cameras are poised, waiting for the inevitable fallout. His hand clenches the edge of the polished table, heart pounding with the weight of legacy and sacrifice. This is no longer just business. It's personal. The room falls silent as the first vote is called, each decision echoing like a verdict. For the CEO, it feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, with the abyss waiting below. There is no turning back. The CEO's voice rises, unwavering as he lays bare the truth to the board. We face ruin if we do not act. Our legacy, our people depend on this. His eyes scan the room, challenging, imploring. The co-founder sits stone-faced, unable to mask the cracks in his facade. The room fractures into whispers and cold stares. The CEO's words hang heavy like thunderclouds. Every second stretches, the weight of the vote pressing on every soul. Outside, the city pulses unaware, but here, history is being rewritten. As the final votes tally, the CEO breathes deep, knowing this is the summit, the peak where everything will either burn or bloom. The air crackles with anticipation, every heartbeat sinks to the company's fate. The final vote is announced. The room explodes in murmurs, half in disbelief, half in relief. The CEO exhales, shoulders slumping slightly as the weight lifts, but only a little. The victory is personal and profound, yet bittersweet. As applause begins, his gaze drifts to the empty seat at the corner, the woman who once stood by his side, now absent. He knows the price paid in solitude, the cost of a legacy forged in fire. Quietly, he reaches for his phone, fingers trembling as he types a message. I'm ready to rebuild, together. The empire may have survived the storm, but the man who commands it knows this is just the beginning of a far greater battle, healing the wounds left behind. Later, in the quiet of his office, the CEO stands alone, staring out at the city's glittering skyline. The lights reflect 1,000 dreams and broken promises. He clenches a letter, an apology he's written but never sent. His voice barely a whisper. I was wrong. Forgive me. The man who once wielded power like a weapon, now understands its fragility. Memories flood, of laughter, love, and loss. The fight for the empire was never just about control, but about mending what was broken inside. Tonight, he chooses vulnerability over pride, hope over despair. The night wraps around him like a cloak as he steps away from the window, ready to face the unknown with an open heart. In the final moments before dawn, the CEO meets quietly with the woman who once was his greatest enemy, now the woman who stole his heart. Their eyes meet, words unspoken, heavy with history and healing. He reaches out, hesitating, then gently takes her hand. I never left you, he murmurs, voice thick with emotion. In that fragile silence, years of pain and forgiveness intertwine. The world outside is still and waiting, but inside, two hearts begin to rebuild what was lost. The empire, the battles, the scars, all fade into the background as they hold on to the one thing that truly matters, each other. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in years, hope blooms bright. Months have passed since the storm. The billionaire CEO walks through the company's bustling headquarters, his steps quieter but his presence calmer. His sharp suits remain, but there is a softness in his gaze now, reflecting a man who has traded some power for wisdom. The corridors echo with purposeful energy, but he pauses, touching the worn photo of his mother pinned on his office wall. She smiles back, a beacon of the sacrifice that shaped him. The empire still stands, yet it is no longer just a monument to ambition, but to endurance. The CEO's voice, once sharp with command, now carries a gentle strength. He has become a man who understands loss, love, and legacy, not as trophies, but as the fragile fabric of life itself. The company thrives, but more importantly, so does the man within it. The woman who once stood as his adversary now sits beside him at a company event, their smiles genuine and easy. The scars of past battles linger in the depth of their eyes, but the warmth between them is undeniable. She raises a glass in quiet celebration, her voice steady. We built more than a company. We built a family. Around them, colleagues and friends share laughter and hope. The CEO listens, heart lightened by the gift of connection. The empire is no longer just his, it belongs to those who stayed, those who forgave, and those who believed in second chances. In her eyes he finds the strength to continue, not just as a leader, but as a man renewed by love and grace. The future glows with possibility, softer but infinitely more real. Outside the boardroom, the CEO now walks with steadiness and quiet humility. The cutthroat world of business remains, but his battles have shifted. He mentors young entrepreneurs, sharing lessons carved from pain and triumph. His voice is calm, seasoned with grace. Success is never just about winning, it's about what you become in the process. As he speaks, the room listens, respect and admiration blending with hope. The wounds of the past have not vanished, but they have been transformed into wisdom. The empire still demands much, but he no longer lets it define him. Each step forward is measured, intentional. The man who once fought to prove himself now fights to uplift others, forging a legacy that transcends profits and power. At home, the CEO sits quietly in a sunlit room filled with memories. The little girl from years ago, now a young woman, smiles across from him. Their bond, forged through trials and forgiveness, is evident in every glance. "You saved me," she says softly. He shakes his head, voice thick with emotion. "No, you saved me." The years of pain, sacrifice and struggle culminate here, in this fragile, beautiful moment of connection. Power and titles fall away. What remains is family, love, and the quiet understanding that some battles are worth every scar. The man who once feared loss now embraces it as part of his story. Together, they look toward a future rebuilt from the ashes, their hearts beating in sync with hope and healing. As dusk settles, the CEO stands on a rooftop terrace overlooking the city's skyline. The lights below twinkle like stars, a reminder of dreams fulfilled and those yet to come. He breathes deeply, the weight of his journey etched into every line on his face. "I am not the man I was," he murmurs, voice steady and hopeful. The empire remains, but it no longer consumes him. Instead, it supports a life rich with meaning, love, and resilience. The night air is cool and alive with possibility. A final glance toward the horizon signals a man reborn, not perfect, but whole. The legacy he leaves is no longer built on ambition alone, but on sacrifice, forgiveness, and the courage to change. The city hums below, carrying his story forward into the future. The CEO stands alone before a massive floor-to-ceiling mirror in his penthouse, dawn's pale light casting soft shadows across his face. His reflection shows a man changed, not just by power or pain, but by the journey of loss and redemption. The room is silent, except for the faint hum of the city waking below. He stares deeply, searching for the man he once was and the man he has become. A quiet line escapes his lips. He left the company, but never left her. The words hang in the stillness like a whispered vow. Outside, fireworks erupt in celebration, bright and fleeting. The CEO's eyes flicker with bittersweet hope, a silent promise to carry both legacy and love forward. This moment is still powerful, a closing heartbeat before the next chapter. A child's small hand reaches up to touch the same boardroom chair where the CEO once sat. The room is bright and empty, sun streaming through the windows, casting long shadows. The child's eyes are wide with wonder, innocence shining through. It's a silent reminder of legacy, of dreams passed down and futures yet unwritten. The man's voice echoes softly from memory. "This is more than business. It's about family." The chair seems vast beneath the tiny hand, symbolizing the weight and promise of what comes next. Hope blooms quietly here, fragile yet fierce, like the spark that started it all. Under a star-studded sky, the CEO and the woman stand side by side on a quiet rooftop, their hands intertwined. The city's distant glow surrounds them like a protective halo. Neither speaks, words are unnecessary here. Their journey, marked by battles, betrayals, and breakthroughs, has led to this peaceful union. A shared glance holds years of pain and healing. They breathe in the cool night air, knowing the future remains uncertain, but theirs to face together. In the silence, their hearts speak louder than any speech ever could. The empire's roar dims, replaced by the quiet strength of love reborn. The CEO's silhouette is framed against a giant screen displaying fireworks bursting in vibrant color over the skyline. His gaze is steady, eyes reflecting both the light and the darkness he's faced. Around him, the world celebrates success, but he knows the real victory lies deeper, in forgiveness, sacrifice, and the courage to start anew. His heart is full of stories unspoken, battles quietly won, and love fiercely kept. In this moment, beneath the spectacle of light and sound, he finds peace, not perfection, but acceptance. The legacy is no longer about control, but about connection. The future is bright, fragile, and wholly his to shape. As the final fireworks fade into the night, the CEO turns back toward the softly lit interior of his penthouse. The woman waits for him, her smile gentle and knowing. Together they walk toward the future, unwritten but hopeful. The man who once stood alone now walks with a partner, hand in hand, carrying the weight of legacy with grace and love. The city hums below, a symphony of possibility. Their story closes on this quiet promise. No matter what comes next, they will face it together. The final line lingers in the air, a silent echo of the journey. He left the company, but never left her. And with that, the screen fades to black,